This is one of the oldest cruisers in Legends, and she has been power crept about like you would imagine, with all of her direct competitors getting buffed over the years. Should you still care about this ship, or should you spend your global XP elsewhere? Prinz Eugen came to Legends in early 2020, not as a campaign ship, but as a global XP cruiser. Back then, there were just a handful of Tier 7 cruisers you could get your hands on. Baltimore, Edinburgh, and Mogami were the original three, and the German cruisers came soon after that with the Admiral Hipper. Now there are 36 cruisers at the tier. It is safe to say a ton has changed in World of Warship Legends, except Prinz Eugen. She still sits in the same spot in the store for 750,000 global XP. Speaking of buffs, all of the following Tier 7 cruisers have been buffed over the years. Martel, Mogami, Hipper, Baltimore, Piotr Bagration, Belfast 43, San Diego, Riga, Azuma, Rochester, Harbin, to name a few. I don't know if I got them all there. Most notably though, I would focus on some of those old ones. The Hipper, Mogami, Charles Martel, and Baltimore. They're all old tech tree cruisers on the list, almost as old as the Prinz Eugen. Had they all kept their original stats, then a case could be made for Prinz being fine, but they haven't. The Hipper buff would be the first one to look at, back in May 2021. Main battery reload was decreased a second and a half, and the shell damage buffed. This one really alone made the Prinz Eugen obsolete, but to add insult to injury, Mogami got buffed twice, Martel got buffed, and even good old Baltimore was buffed. All heavy cruisers, all direct competitors to Prinz Eugen. Some of the buffs even came with cliff notes saying that these original cruisers were being overshadowed nowadays. So where is the buff for this German cruiser, and what would make her feel like she's worth playing again in 2024? We'll get to that. First though, be sure to vote in the comment section down below for the next ship you would like to see. You guys chose the Prinz Eugen, it had the most votes on the last video, and I've been loving this series of You Pick. It allows you guys to have some say in the direction of content, so yeah, be sure to vote down below. Also do me a favor, hit the like button, that would help out a ton. Thank you. So what are the big differences between the Prinz Eugen and the free-to-play Hipper? Well, Prinz Eugen wins with more health and a slightly better heal. Hipper wins in shell damage and reload. Prinz Eugen has better torpedoes. Although they're a little slower, they are stealthier and they reach farther, 8 kilometers. Hipper takes the advantage with better AA DPS, turn circle, rudder shift, and concealment, although by not a lot. Still though, she's better in all those categories. Prinz Eugen, of course, has a beaut of a permanent camouflage and gets premium bonuses. Also, if you've ever noticed some of these subtle modeling differences, Eugen's guns have a more refined look, and then there is no hanger for the aircraft that Hipper has. Overall, it's the better looking ship, but that doesn't really amount to a hill of beans when it comes to gameplay. The consumables look the exact same, except PE has access to a reload booster that you have to give up your amazing German hydroacoustic search to use. More on that later though. Hipper is just the better ship in about every way. If you're still interested in playing the Prinz Eugen though, because she is a famous historical ship and again, just gorgeous, here is the build I have been running. Aiming systems, propulsion, rudder, and concealment. Rigerwald with Makawa and Muller, and focusing on bringing up the DPM after that. Prinz Eugen loves to see enemy cruisers. When you have that amazing AP, the AP shells can wreak havoc. The HE is just okay. They do pin 51 millimeters of armor, and that is great with German quarter pin, but they don't do a lot of damage, and they don't set a lot of fires. Rigerwald's Kraken shell skill is awesome for the AP. Now, if you're free to play, I would probably just choose Muller and buff the guns as much as you can. Also, fully packed, I would generally always recommend that on any tier 7 or above cruiser for the extra heals and the consumables. I did test Membelli and actually had him on in the games in the background, but I'm thinking Muller might be the better option because these ships are pretty slow at 32 knots base. The added speed would help them when getting into brawling situations and just move around the map a little bit better. Prinz Eugen still has a pretty competitive armor scheme. Wrapped in 27 millimeters of armor, she auto bounces all 380 millimeter guns, and those are pretty common at tier 6 and tier 7. Also making her a little bit different from the Hipper is this small bit of icebreaker armor. It's probably not enough to care about, but if you're running down a battleship with 406mm guns, maybe, just maybe, you could shrug off a shell or two with this extra armor. Speaking of running down battleships, that is one of the best parts of these German heavy cruisers. When you finally close the distance and get to ruin a battleship main's day, it is a lot of fun. This is definitely a brawling cruiser without a doubt. She has a super strong torpedo armament, 6 on each side, and turtleback armor that makes her tanky up close. In my 9 games that I played last night, it really wasn't the meta to brawl, I would say. Most players are content to shoot from the back line, and depending on the map, you may just not get the opportunity. So that's why I love this build with Riga. Because of those games, this AP spamming setup is perfect. Always on the hunt for broadsides to punish enemy ships with AP. In my experience playing German heavy cruisers, it is super tempting to rush in early game and to get into a good aggressive position, but I just don't find that works all the time. Yeah, some games, if people blindly rush into you, you can get a torpedo death strike or two, but if you're playing against people with brains, it's really easy to counter this. Enemy battleships can just stay 6 or 7 or 8 kilometers away and slowly push into you. In German cruisers, I find that the best thing is not to be the first ship targeted and just kind of take your time getting into the fight. Preserve the health pool for the late game pushes. Now, despite feeling like Prinz Eugen is completely mid now going into 2024, she can still hold her own. Last night we went 7-2 solo, and it felt good to be back behind the wheel of my first ever Global XP cruiser that I earned. Really though, there isn't a situation where I would take this ship out over the hipper. And of course, there is also the mines and the mine CE that have come to the game since this ship came out. I choose not to play those ships anymore, they're just too easy to do well in. If given the chance, how would I buff the Prinz Eugen? Well, how about taking that reload booster and putting it into the same slot as the catapult fighter? Leave all the other stats alone, but you would be able to run sonar and the reload booster at the same time. I feel like this would make her continue to be unique, but give her something fun and some sort of advantage when competing against all of these buffed tier 7 heavy cruisers, all of which dwarf Prinz Eugen's ability to deal damage now. Sure, Prinz is more of a tanky cruiser, a burst damage brawler, I would say, but Martel and Mogami, they have their agility to tank with, and Baltimore and Hipper, they're just as tanky with their 27mm of armor, and Balti, when played correctly, of course, is just as tanky. Overall, though, I really don't see any reason to pick up Eugen anymore in her current state. It would be my second to last global XP purchase in the game right now after the Atago. Hipper is just better, and she is free. You know what else is free? Grosser Kurfürst, and we recently reviewed that ship as well, and it nearly broke my will to play this game and to live, so be sure to check that out. This is Durka signing off. I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.